teacher version. If you come under course administration and you hit grades, it will show you your grades for that class.
What's his password?
Guys, sit around the
And
table
you
and
can
ask
see
you
the
too.
teacher's comments. I've had several students email me and say, you keep saying you put in teacher's comments, but I can't find them. So a fast, easy place to find them is under the grades setting. You can then click on an assignment that you had a bad grade on or that you want to redo, and it takes you straight to the assignment. That green bar tells you if it has been graded. Submission status. If it says no attempt, what you tried to turn in never went through. If in that bar where it says submission status, in parentheses it says draft, the teacher can't grade it. However, you were trying to turn it in is not working. Remember to do an edit submission. You delete the whole box. You go to your Google Doc, change it, and then copy and paste it in. So this one is a pretend grade. So I go to add assignment. It's blank. So if I was to put in my Google Doc, I got it graded and it still went badly, so I need to do it again. If I copy and paste, make certain you have a small black cursor in the top corner. If the cursor is blue, or if it is spaced down 1 or 2 spots, you have to keep hitting backspace. If your cursor is not in that top corner, what you see and what the teacher sees is not the same thing. We can't grade it. So always be certain that your cursor is in the correct place. You do not want to have your text starting down a little bit. Save changes is not the end to submit a revised assignment. If all I did was save changes, now you see the submission status says draft. The teacher still cannot grade it. We can't see it. So if you exited out of Moodle or you started going over here to a different class and it still says draft, you're not done. You have to scroll down to submit assignment. You're still not done. You have to tell me it's your own work. You have to hit continue. And now it says submitted for grading. Until your submission status says submitted for grading, the teacher cannot grade your work. So if you're confused on if your stuff has gone through, you have some zeros and you're like, no, I really turned it in, check under grades, look at that submission status bar. Also, if you scroll down, it'll tell you the last time you modified it. And if you keep going down, it'll tell you when it was last graded. Some students, I think, are confused. I graded it on Sunday. You keep submitting me the same thing without changes. Just go to the assignments and pay attention. It tells you when you last touched it, that's the last modified. It tells you when a teacher last graded it, that's at the bottom. So pay attention and make certain that your assignments are going through and that you're not just sending us the same thing over and over again because you're confused, you didn't see the feedbacks, or you didn't check those dates. All right, what we're going to look at today is your online textbook. So you need to scroll down to Unit 2 where it says Electricity Flexbook. Click on that. This is a short online bit of information. Your screen will not look like mine. Not yet. So where you see at the top in the black, right up here, where it says join in a red box, you click that. Then you click sign up with Google. Make certain you are in your school Google account and not your personal Google account. I know many people run both. You need to sign up with your school account. Then you're going to sign up in the red box where it says sign up with Google. Then you're going to get a screen. You're going to see this, but on top of this will be a dialog box that's asking who you are. You are a student. The zip code for Springdale is 72762. And you can list yourself as being in 9th grade because this is a 9th grade class. It's going to ask, can it check your email? It's just wanting, this is a school-based program, they just want to check that you are a student. So when you get the box about checking email, you tell it okay. Then you're going to have this screen, but on top of it is going to be a box asking who you are. You are a student, not a teacher. That gives you different information, and it's really not very different. Unit 2, all the way at the bottom. What Trustee Fox like? The electricity worksheets are not going to be graded for your science grade. Those are there for you to self-assess. After you have skimmed through the flexbook on electricity, look at those worksheets. If you can't pass them, you're probably not ready to do a project. You don't know enough about electricity yet. So those worksheets are what's called a self-assessment tool. They are not going to be a science grade, but if you can't pass those worksheets, you probably don't need to start on your project yet. This is an online textbook, so it is very different. So you click here. Blue means you, and you can go. That is the, what? Yeah. We had internet issues yesterday. So a little circle like that. There we go. This is just an introductory page, but at the bottom, chapter outline, think of those 3 blue sections as being like new sections in a textbook. Again, blue is you and means you can go someplace. I must get down here to electric current. The neat thing about this resource is there are several embedded videos. So if you are confused on something, they give you a nice lesson vocabulary right there at the top. There's an embedded video. The graphics are very nice in this resource. Several places you're going to see right here a hyperlink where you can go someplace else for either more information or another video or a science experiment. Not options that you can get in a regular textbook. Also, an option that you have, since this is an online digital text, it's searchable with that Control-F search bar. So if you remember, hopefully you remember, number 3, the NGSS that we're looking at specifically talked about the strength of electric and magnetic fields. So I can go into my flexbook on electricity. I can skip this little introductory paragraph, which is kind of cool, and go into the first section on electric charge. Being online means it's searchable. When you're using a web page, if you see this magnifying glass, that is not where you want to type in a search. The magnifying glass is where you're searching that entire web page. But you can search this entire document with that Control-F search bar. So remember the NGSS talked about fields. If I type in field and hit enter, it's here 12 times. If you hit the down arrow, it takes you right to where you see the word field, and it's highlighted for you. So it's telling you that describe electric fields is one of the objectives, and it's one of the vocabularies, and it's in your first NGSS for your project. So there's a paragraph that is all about electric fields, probably one you should read. The way to use this tool, if you want to read the whole thing all the way through, awesome, you rock, you love science, we should probably get together sometime. It's great. But if you are pressed for time in your other classes, or reading is not your big forte, then you can use that search to go straight to the information that you need. But now that you've read it, you need to record it. So open your Gmail in a new tab. Monday, I sent you out a document called 2-column template. You're going to make a copy. So you have an email. It should look like this when you open it. You're going to go to File, Make a Copy. Some of you guys are wasting a ton of time trying to find your stuff in Google Drive because you're being kind of lazy, and where it says copy of template, whatever the teacher named the document, you just hit OK. Stop doing that because you keep losing your documents and you are wasting your time trying to find them. Erase the teacher's name and give it a new name that makes sense to you, such as I would call this one Science so I can find it. This is on Unit 2. This unit is about fields, and this is your notes. So give it a name so you can find it in your Google Drive. I can't count the number of times where I'm going around table by table to help someone, and they're like, oh, I need help with my planning sheet. Let me find it. And then you spend 5 minutes trying to find it in your Google Drive because you can't remember what you called it, or maybe somebody shared it with you. So instead of just hitting the button to copy, to give it the name of copy, you should start renaming your documents so that you can find them. So now that you have your own copy, let me show you how to make your life easier. I have an extension which I'm fixing to upload for you. And let me show you what it does. So I now can have my notes in one window and my flexbook beside it, and I can take my notes much easier. You can have them running side by side. This is still searchable. Now this is what's called a screen splitter. Screens and tabs are not the same thing, so don't get confused. Tabs are these things across the top. This left side is all one screen. This right side has different tabs across the top. They don't match. If you go down, or if you have it on the side, and do a one-click on Google Chrome, these are all different versions of Google I'm currently running. I'm not running just one Google, I have 4 running. So don't get screens and tabs confused, they're not the same. So you are at this location. So let's look at how you do it, okay? So I'm gonna make this screen bigger. To get what I just showed you, you go down to what's called the 9x9 grid. That is the name for, some people also call it the tic-tac-toe box. Those are the official Google names for that icon. You click on it and you go to Web Store. Apps and extensions are not the same thing as a smartphone app and extension inside of Google. In Google, an app is nothing more than a shortcut to a web page. It does no work. It is merely a different kind of bookmark. An extension in Google makes your life easier, and it actually does work. What you are going to type in is up there in the search called Screen Split. And it's an extension, so you want to click down to the circle that says extension. I have tried all of these, and personally I think tab size is the easiest one to use. That's the one I just showed you. I have already installed it, so I have the word rated. Yours should see blue and say free. Click it. Now let me show you where extensions go. I run several. This is just one of my bookmark bars. Up here, right next to the Omni bar, that's at the top. That's not a search bar. It does much more. That's why Google named it an Omni bar. Next to your Omni bar is where you see extensions. You should now have up here, next to, in this little thing's called the hot dog menu. I didn't name it, Google did. You should now see a square with blue and has a white arrow in it, and it should have a little icon that says new. That is now your split screen extension. Anytime you want to use it, you just click it, and then you get the format choices. I personally like to run it side by side. Some people prefer it one on top of the other. If you wanted to be looking at the NGSS, the textbook, and your notes all at the same time on the same screen, then you pick the one that's four, and you can have all three of those running at the same time, all on the screen. But when you get down here, you're then going to have four things showing up, not just one Google, because you will have four different Google screens open. So you should have up there in the blue box, split screen. That's the different icons for the different extensions. Yours is probably going to say new. You can pick how you want to do the display. But you can now have your notes in the textbook running at the same time so that you can take notes. Some people, it takes some practice, okay? This is not, it's not a hard extension to use, but it does take a little practice to get used to how it works. So, so let's look at how you can utilize this. So taking your notes while you're reading the flexbook. So let me go back to my split screen. Now see, I expanded this screen, but I'm still running, the way you can double check is you go down to Google, I'm still running my other screens. I made the mistake of starting to click the extension again. I want to click the maximize and minimize box. That's up here next to your X. That takes me back to where I was. So now I have the flexbook running right next to my notes. Do not just copy and paste out of the flexbook into your notes. That's really not very helpful. You already know how to copy and paste. You don't know electrical fields. You should read this paragraph. It's all about electrical fields. Have electrical fields in your top box as your vocabulary key term, and then in your own words, put in a summary. Just copy and pasting doesn't help you. There is actually science research out there that says if you will summarize for your notes instead of copying and paste, you are 80% more likely to remember it. That's the difference between an F and a B in grades. Copy and paste does not help you memorize it. One of the universities actually did a project where they had students take notes by just copying and pasting, and they took a test next week after they read their notes. Another group of students read the same stuff, but they had to summarize the notes and took the same test the next week. Copy and paste people failed it. The ones who summarized it all made A's or B's. So don't just copy and paste because you didn't really learn anything. You want to summarize it. And as you're making summaries, the advantage of having digital notes, you can add in information. So let's look at this. Electrical fields. Electric force is exerted over a distance, so charged particles do not have to be in contact in order to exert force over each other. That's because each charged particle is surrounded by an electrical field. An electric field is a space around the charged particle where the particle exerts electric force on other particles. So there's my definition, which I found by searching, and I know it's a definition because they put the vocabulary word in bold. So I put in electrical fields, and I started retyping in my own words that sentence. Electric field, space around a charged particle. Well, darn, I don't know what a charged particle is. So I made myself a note. I put in parentheses and a blank line. That's my personal indicator that as I keep reading this information, I need to find out what a charged particle is. I know some students sometimes put a question mark there. That way you have a signal that your notes are incomplete, that you have used a science term that you don't know the definition of. So then I can keep giving my summary. So back over here, an electric field, space around a charged particle, where the particle exerts electric force on other particles. Space around the charged particle, and I put my own personal signal in there if I don't know what that is. That's a science word. I need to find that definition. Space around the charged particle, where it exerts a push/pull, because we now know that's what a force is. That's something we've already studied, on other particles. So now if I wanted to stop right there and go right now and look up charged particle, I still have up here my search. I could type in charged particle, and as I'm typing, it's finding it for me. So I can then find my definition of what a charged particle is, so that I can add it into my notes right there. If reading isn't your thing, you have difficulty with it for whatever reason, in your accessibility settings, you can change this to turn on the voice box, and then with headphones, your computer will read this to you. And you can select a paragraph at a time for the computer to read it to you. So if for whatever reason, reading is a difficult task for you, you can still get the information from this flexbook with the power of your Chromebook. If you need that feature and don't know how to turn it on, see me in the union one morning, or be a few moments late before you go to lunch, or stay after class, and I'll show you how you can turn on voice so that your Chromebook will read this to you. So you could be looking at the words, have on your headphones, having it read it to you, and take your notes all at the same time. That is true multitasking. So your assignment that's due today, for those of you who have completed Unit 1, is the explaining numbers 3, 4, and 5 of the NGSS. Remember, for the assignment, you're not playing the thesaurus game. You're looking at that whole structure and basically rewriting it. Your rewrite might be in a different order than the NGSS. In fact, if you do it well, it should be in a different order. So let's look at your NGSS. And if you don't remember how to get to that, it is also inside of your moodle. So I can leave my flexbook, go back to Moodle. Surely you all have Moodle, like I do, up here on your, right here for your bookmarks, but I have looked at computers, and many of you don't. You have to keep typing in Moodle. I don't understand why you just like doing extra work. Right there's your NGSS Science Standards. Ours are on page 56. Control F, 56. Hit enter. I'm now at the bottom of page 56. So I'm just going up a little bit. There's 3, 4, and 5. That is what your project has to do. And look, right there, number 3 is talking about electric forces, which we just read about now in our flexbook. So you're going to copy all of this into a Google Doc. So that you can start working on it. If you haven't downloaded the new drive so that you can preview your documents, you should. If you're running new drive, see, I'm not sure if this is the document that I wanted, so I go over here under details, I click it once, nope, that's not the one I'm looking for. And you can go through and pick the right document that you're looking for. So you're going to copy and paste the NGSS into a doc, and then basically you're going to be rewriting it. So think of a little brother or sister in 4th grade is asking you, hey, you're in high school, what are you studying? You're studying these 3 things, But how are you going to answer that fourth grade? So it says from number 3, ask questions about data to determine the factors that affect the strength of electric and magnetic forces. What's the science stuff in that? What are you actually studying? Nobody? Yes?
Electric and magnetic forces.
So that's probably what you want to start with for your rewrite. And what are you studying about electric and magnetic forces? Are you studying everything about it, or are you studying one particular thing about electric and magnetic forces? One word, starts with an S. Strength. So maybe in your rewrite, you want to start, we're studying about the strength of electric forces, which are, because you now know what those are, because you just read it, and magnetic forces. And you might want to put a question mark there, because you haven't looked that one up yet to know what it is. We're going to be doing experiments, because it says plan an investigation. We're going to be gathering data. What's data from an experiment? How do you get data out of an experiment? That's what you need to put into your rewrite. Your rewrite is probably going to be much longer than the NGSS. Excellent, it's supposed to. Your rewrite is probably going to be in a different order than the NGSS. Wonderful, you are on your way towards getting an A. You're looking to pull out what's the science stuff. What are you learning about that science stuff? And how are you going to learn about it? If you look at the NGSS, strength of electric and magnetic forces is the science stuff. What are you doing with it? You're determining the factors that affect that strength. And how are you going to do it? You're going to ask questions about an experiment. NGSS told you all of that if you read it correctly. But reading the NGSS is hard. And there's still some teachers that are trying to work out this process. Should you master this process, you are years ahead of many students in science. We are the only school that has been given permission to start using NGSS in the entire state of Arkansas. Other schools are still using the old stuff, and we're using the newest, greatest, and current. But learning how to read it is difficult. And it's a skill you have to practice and learn. It doesn't read like the Wednesday Wars that you have been reading in English class. Reading science stuff is different. When you finish your rewrite of the NGSS, it should be longer. It shouldn't sound sciencey. If you're still using lots of science words in it, break it down more. Make it easier for an elementary student. Because once you understand this at the low level, then doing your project will be super easy. Because you totally understand what you have to do. Until you understand all of the depth that's in NGSS, your project's going to be hard to do. Because you don't fully understand what you have to do for your project. So we only have about 8 minutes left. I'm going to come around and help you table by table. I'll help you with something on Moodle if you're confused on Moodle or having problems with Moodle. I'll help you with the spring splitter. Help you with explaining your project. Help you on learning how to use the flexbook. But you have lots of tools now at your disposal for this assignment to be easy for you to do. And I know somebody, okay, you'll be next, because I know you were having little issues. Did you get yours solved? Okay, so you got the drafts and in all your classes? Awesome. Yes, awesome. I think you were supposed to today because I don't do that. Sorry. What's it around?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, oh,
I got Then I have mannequins, other mannequins. I haven't Mega evolutions. We're seeing how legendaries, but also mega evolutions. Mega evolutions count too. Yeah, megas.
I'm not going to call my mom if this period and ask her to check me out yet.
I have a shiny